Peace be with you. In the second chapter of the Quran, Surah Baqarah, verse 155, God tells us, "And most surely we will try it with somewhat of fear and hunger and loss of property and lives and fruits, so give good news to the patient." Fear is a powerful emotion. It is probably the most powerful emotion human beings feel. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that God addresses fear in the Quran. And I want to talk about this emotion because God promised us that we are going to be tested by it. And in light of the genocide that's happening in Gaza, I want to bring forth what God said in the Quran, because much of what is talked about fear in the Quran is in the context of fighting oppression. The first verses I'm going to read is from the 33rd chapter of the Quran, verses 9 through 22. God says, "O you who believe, call to mind or remember the favor of God when there came down upon you hosts or armies. So we send against them a strong wind and hosts that you did not see, and God is seeing of what you do. When they came upon you from above you and from below you, and when the eyes turned dull, and the hearts rose up to the throats, and you began to think diverse thoughts of God." So it tells us what fear feels like, right? These people, "O you who believe," it says. So these believers, they are now seeing imminent death, and they think that they are going to be overcome. And this is talking about the Battle of the Trench, by the way. And they think that they are going to be overcome. And now God tells them what's in their hearts. And they now start to think diverse thoughts about God. There the believers were tried. So God tried them with fear. This is what being tried with fear looks like. Gaza is what being tried with fear looks like. Living around Gaza and not going to help is what being tried with fear looks like. And then it says, "There the believers were tried, and they were shaken with severe shaking. And when the hypocrites and those in whom hearts was a disease began to say, 'God and his messenger did not promise us, but only to deceive.'" So all of a sudden now, disease in some of these people's hearts. And remember, these are still talking to those who believe, right? They're all there on the battlefield together. And now it says, look, these are the ones. "And when a party of them said, 'O people of Yathrib, there is no place to stand for you. Therefore go back.' And a party of them asked permission of the Prophet, saying, 'Surely our houses are exposed.' And they were not exposed. They only desired to run away. And if an entry was made upon them from the outlying parts of it, then they were asked to wage war, they would certainly have done it." So if it was their children under the rubble, if it was them needing help, then they would fight. "And they would not have stayed in it but a little while. And certainly they have made a covenant with God, a deal with God before, that they would not turn their backs, that they would not run." So when people declare themselves Muslims, this is what they declare. "And God's covenant shall be inquired of. Say, running away shall not do you any good if you run from death or killing or slaughter. And in that case, you will not be allowed to enjoy yourself except a little. Say, who is it that can withhold you from God if he intends to do you evil?" Like you can have an airplane crash, you can have a car accident, you can get cancer. There's nothing you can do. Rather, he intends to show you mercy. And they will not find for themselves beside God any guardian or helper. God knows indeed those among you who hinder others, and those who say to their brethren, 'Come with us,' and they do not come to the fight except a little." So you can see that happening in Gaza right now, right? There are people out there saying, "No, we shouldn't do that. Oh, we're not ready. Or let's wait for the Mahdi. Oh, we can't do this, can't do that," right? There are people who are actively discouraging helping the oppressed people of Palestine, and they have been for the last 75 years. As a matter of fact, there are people in government who are actively helping the oppressors. But this is what God says about that. "Being stingy with respect to you, but when fear comes," and this is what I'm talking about, fear, "you will see them looking to you, their eyes rolling like the one swooning because of death. But when the fear is gone, they smite you with sharp tongues, being stingy of the good things." So when they're afraid, they're like, "Help us," right? If their houses are being attacked, they're like, "Help us." But when it's not them, then they're like, "Oh, we don't have to do anything." And then they even talk bad about people who are actually trying to do something. It's like, "Oh, look at these idiots," or, so this is the characteristic of the people who have disease in their hearts. And then it says, These have not believed. Therefore God has made their doings nothing, and this is easy to God. They think the Allies are not gone, and if the Allies should come back, they would rather be in the desert with the desert Arabs, with the Bedouin, away from that place, asking for news about you. And if they were among you, they would not fight except a little. Certainly you have in the messenger of God an excellent example for him who hopes in God and the latter day and remembers God much. And when believers saw the Allies, they said, "This is what God and his messenger promised us, and God and his messenger spoke the truth, and it only increased them in faith and submission." So when Muslims see this, when they see people coming to take their land, to oppress them, to subjugate them, they say, this is indeed what God and his messenger promised us, that these people are going to do this. This is why we were told to be ready to defend ourselves, and that we have to defend ourselves. People living in Palestine before the settler colonial movement started should have remembered that and been prepared. But none of us are, so we can't blame nobody. But this is what the Quran says. So this is the first part. There's another part to this. Peace be with you.